a good angle, something that grabs my attention, something that I'm interested in. And right at the beginning, it has to be something that stands out from the crowd. So recently we worked with a company here in Finland who were launching basically a new software platform. And that is incredibly dull because people launch new software platforms all the time. Even if I was a journalist who only writes about software platforms, then that is still very boring. However, we got talking to the founders and we asked, how did your company come about? And they started talking to us about, well, we were 3 Finns sitting in a bar in North Korea and we decided to have a startup. That's already much more interesting than your software platform. Let's talk about that first to get a journalist interested, and then later we talk about your software platform. So it's about finding a story, an angle that is maybe not as inside the bubble of your little startup world, that grabs a journalist's attention. Secondly, know who you're pitching to. So with me, I report a lot about politics, Nordic lifestyle things. So I'm the wrong person to write about economics or gaming. I get so many gaming press releases. I don't like gaming, I don't care about gaming. I have Angry Birds on my phone, but that's about it. So you're like spamming me when you send me gaming press releases.
How can I know?
Do your research. So if you're interested, say you think I might want to write about what you do, Google me. So find out what it is that I've written about previously. Look at the kind of stories I cover. And if it's clear that I never write about finance or economics or gaming, don't send it to me, I'm the wrong person. There's no easy way. If there was easy ways, you guys would all be in the UK right now and you'd be on the front page of the Financial Times. But you're not. So that's why we're here. Yes, I mean, look on Twitter, see what interests me, not just me, but other journalists as well. Also, kind of think about who you're pitching to. If you're a startup, a lot of times companies like Wall Street Journal, Financial Times, Bloomberg, Reuters, they don't write about individual companies, they write about trends. So they might write about your company as part of a trend, but they're probably not going to write about your company unless you just got bought by Microsoft for 800 million. And if any of you are about to be bought by Microsoft for 800 million, come and see me afterwards, that's a great scoop. But if you're here, I suspect that you're not about to be bought for 800 million. So yeah, look at their interests, do a little bit of Googling, understand what grabs their attention. Secondly, everybody wants to write a press release, but I would say to you, slow your roll. Not everything is a press release. And if you're writing press releases all the time, and sending them to individual journalists all the time, that is definitely spam, and I'm hitting delete repeatedly. So if you have a story that you really want to get through to a journalist, keep that for their own email address. Maybe there's like a journalist at BBC, for example. But if you're just sending out a press release about you just hired a new chief operating officer, or you're having an upgrade to your software, or you've got a little bit of investment, then send that to a news desk. Almost every department inside, whether it's Helsinki Sanomat here, I'm going to use Finnish examples, or Uli, they all have news desk email addresses where you can send this stuff. Now if it's interesting, the assignment editor will pass it on. But don't send it to your good contacts at Helsinki Sanomat or MTV or Uli, because then it's just spam. Every time you do something small. And that means that when you have something actually interesting, all they remember is that you sent them spam before. So send the routine stuff to news desks. Maybe send the routine stuff to, we've got upstairs a PR Newswire. You know, they send out your press releases for a fee to large volume. It's quantity, but it's not always quality. If you want quality coverage, you know, do your research, know who you're writing to, write to an individual journalist, strike out that report, be on social media, interact with them, you know, build the credibility of your company. And talking of building the credibility of your company and your story, it's more vital than ever that quality content is king. So I've been attracted by your press release. You've interacted with me on Twitter. You've got me to read your press release. I think it's a great idea, a good story. I want to find out a little bit more about you. So if your website has nothing, then, well, to be honest, journalists are inherently lazy. You have to spoon-feed journalists things. So I want to go to your website and I want to see that there's a press page there that has your media mentions. It has a little bit about the company, it has some pictures of your product, it has your logo, it tells me who the key people are in your company. And it has a little bit of your history there. So if you are putting out content like blog posts, good blog posts, then put them all on your website. Give me a history, a credible history that I can read about you, and understand that you're not just, two Finnish teenagers in their parents' basement. That there is something more to you. If you have funding, make sure it's all mentioned on your website. So build your credibility through regular content. So many times we see companies that come on the PR side of things, and you say, well, we had it recently, oh, we're launching our product at Arctic15 next week, we want a big media splash. That's like the worst words for anybody involved in PR, probably. Exactly the same thing. Yeah. Nobody wants to hear that. So, plan in advance. I know that you live in your world, your bubble of your startup and your funding and getting the product to launch. But you need to start all along the way and telling the story of your journey, telling it through your social media, telling it through your blog content on your website. Build up that credibility for the journalists so that they see that you are a company that is interesting to write about. And once you establish kind of that first contact, and you get the first couple of things, maybe in your local hometown paper, everybody's got to start somewhere, then you're more likely to get press coverage because you're like an opinion leader. You're somebody that they can go to. You're somebody that has credibility. And if you're writing on your blog posts, I would say, finally, don't be selfish. Give a little love to competitors, other people in the industry. It's not a sales pitch. It's not all a sales pitch. And if a journalist comes to you asking for your comments about, maybe you run a wellness app, do remember that it's also not a sales pitch. If you're very obviously giving a quote to say why your company is so awesome, journalists are turned off by that. But if you're talking about trends in your industry and your company gets a mention, this is a nice win. Remember, it doesn't always have to be about you. It can have your name talking about your industry or your ideas and your thoughts. I don't really have a summation of it, but we went through it a little bit. But I can answer some questions afterwards if anybody has them. But bottom line, you are all startup scum, but you don't have to be startup scum. Thank you very much.